Hello, 8th grade. This is Mrs. McFarland again. Now we are in module 2 and we're getting ready to start lesson 1. So the first thing that we need to look at before we go into the new lessons is at the beginning of each module, you'll see this Are You Ready page. It's always a good idea to do that page. It's a review of some certain problems, prior concepts that you will need for the upcoming module. So it's usually not too many problems, but I would encourage you to always do that page and see if you're ready to move on into this next module or if you need a little more practice with some concepts. So let's look at this Spark Your Learning. Well, actually, let's start with the I can statement. So this says I can identify and perform enlargements and reductions. And the title of the lesson is Investigate Reductions and Enlargements. Enlargements and reductions are other types of transformations. So you'll kind of see, obviously I'm guessing you know, reduction means to make something smaller and enlargement means to make something bigger. So that's just good background. So again, they will show you if you need certain tools. So let's look at this. Rachel wants to enlarge her company logo for a sign. Sketch an enlargement of the roofs by Rachel logo. Here's her logo. Use your protractor to make sure the angle measurements of your enlargement stay the same as the original. So that's important. You want the angle measurements of the enlargement to stay the same as the original. It's an enlargement though, so the overall picture will be bigger, but the angle measurements will stay the same. So then they want you to answer the questions, how are the two images alike? How are they different? And describe your findings. So go ahead and pause the video and work on that one, and we'll go to the next page. So these next two pages are the build understanding. And so again, they show you need a protractor, a ruler, and a pencil. So let's get started. Many computers and phones use reductions called thumbnails to represent images. And here they have in the blue, that's a vocabulary word. Reductions are transformations that keep the proportions of the original image but are smaller in size. So that makes sense. The number 1, triangle ABC, is a drawing of the side of a roof. Use a ruler and a protractor to measure angle ABC or triangle ABC. So here they want you to measure the angles within the triangle, and then they want you to measure using your ruler the segments. So AB, BC, and AC. So write those in. Then B, it says if triangle A prime, B prime, C prime is a reduction of triangle ABC that results in triangle A prime, B prime, C prime having a perimeter exactly half of that of triangle ABC, what are the measurements of triangle A prime, B prime, C prime? So now they want to know the angle measures for your new triangle and then the segment or the side measures of each side. So go ahead and do that. Think about that if the perimeter is half, then what does that tell you about the side lengths if they are to stay in proportion? That's really important. So work on that a little bit. And then C tells you to draw that triangle A prime, B prime, C prime as a reduction. And then they want you to explain how you know it's a reduction in D. So you can pause there if you want, or we can look at the next page together. But if you want to pause, take a minute, work on number 1, and then we'll go on to number 2. So hopefully you did number 1. Number 2, it says, look at this photo. As the train tracks get closer to the front, they appear larger. A coordinate grid can help show how the track's apparent size changes. So I'm sure you've seen a drawing or a painting like this before. But it says Samuel wants to draw the railroad tunnel. Kind of hard to see. It's way back in there. You can kind of see it there on the grid. So first he draws the far end of the tunnel as blue, as shown. Then he decides to use rays to help him accurately enlarge the image. So there's those are the rays that he's using. And I did this one. I'm going to show you something there in a minute. It's kind of similar to this. How do the rays help him draw the floor of the tunnel closest to the viewer? So here's the floor. And so he drew these rays. How does that help you? How did that help him draw that floor of the tunnel closest to the viewer? How does that help him do that if this is his, I guess you could say, vanishing point? So think about that. Then it says, B says, draw additional rays from the origin through the vertices of Samuel's preimage. So here's his preimage, and I drew a preimage here so that we can kind of look at that. Maybe I don't need that, but let me show you something here. So if we want to look at, hold on, grab my, so if I wanted to draw another ray from, I didn't get exactly on the vertices, but let's say that's there. Kind of move that a little bit. So if I draw from the origin out through the ray, and I do that for, I can do that from, oops, let's see, for any of these vertices here. Go back to my pointer. I can draw from here through this vertex, and all to each one. And so they want you to draw those arrays, additional rays from the origin through the vertices of Samuel's preimage. Use those rays to complete the enlarged image. So then you'll use all these different rays that you have to draw an enlarged image. Look at your new image and see, is it the same shape as the preimage, and explain how you know. So go ahead and work on that, and then we'll go on to the next page. So here we are at number 3. You can make reductions on a coordinate grid. The last problem you've made an enlargement. This time you're going to do a reduction. So this time in A it says draw rays from the origin through the vertices of the given shape. How can these rays help you reduce the shape? So again, you'll start at the origin and you'll draw a ray through each of the vertices. And you can see here the two X and Y axes, or the X axis actually kind of uses rays already through those vertices. But then you'll just draw a ray through each one and use that to help you reduce the shape. How does that help you? B, it tells you reduce the shape so the sides are half the original length. Use the grid to sketch your new image. And then C, they want to know how you can be sure that your image shows an accurate reduction. Angle measures are the same, but the side lengths are reduced in this case, but are still proportional. So go ahead and pause the video here, work on that one, and then you can go on to the check understanding, see how you do, how comfortable you feel with what's happening in this lesson, and then let's look at the next few pages. So these next 2 pages are the on your own, so you're going to do that on your own. If you did the check understanding and you feel comfortable and confident, work on this. This next page is homework, more practice homework. So if you did great on the check understanding and you did the on your own and you feel comfortable with that, I would suggest skipping the homework. It's optional. If you love doing these reductions and enlargements, you can work on the homework. I would recommend, however, that you do the test prep and the spiral review here. Those are always really important to do. It just gives you a little more practice in the test prep, for example, with standardized testing type questions, and the review goes over previous concepts. So work on those, and I'll see you in the next video.